Hi students, you have learned last day's problems now. You all practiced that now. Today this one is our second class. Here we are going to discuss about irrational numbers. Here you can see one number line. Which all numbers listed here? These all are integers, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. to right side, and -1, -2, -3, etc. to left side. This one is one number line. Here integers marked, and here we know that on this number line you can mark infinitely many integers. This number line should extend to both sides. You can mark infinitely many integers on this, and you know that there is infinitely many integers. And if you pick all the integers from this number line, is there any other number? Can you see any other number on number line? If you pick all the integers from this number line, yes, you know, if you pick all the integers from this number line, there exists more numbers. You learn about decimal numbers now. In between two adjacent integers, there is infinitely many decimal numbers. In between 1 and 2, you can find many decimal numbers. In between 0 and 1, you can find many decimal numbers. For example, in between 1 and 2, at the middle position, you can mark 1 by 2. 1 by 2 is one decimal number. How you can represent its decimal form? 0.5. 1 by 2 is the fraction, and you can represent that as decimal form like 0.5. That's one number in between 0 and 1. And between 0 and 1 by 2, you can mark 1 divided by 4. In between 1 by 2 and 1, you can mark 3 divided by 4. Is it like that? You can mark infinitely many fractions or decimal numbers on the number line. Okay. So you can see there is infinitely many numbers on the number line. Then what about if you pick all the decimal numbers from this number line? All the decimal numbers together with that integers. If you pick up all the decimal numbers together with this decimal number, is there exist any other number? Then also there exist infinitely many numbers. If you pick up all the integers and decimal numbers or fractions or any number you learn, different types of numbers you learn, any type of numbers from that, if you pick up that all from this number line, then also there exists infinitely many numbers. Last class you all learned about rational numbers. What's that rational number? The numbers that can represent in the form p divided by q. If you pick up all the numbers from this number line that can be represented in the form p divided by q, then there should exist some more numbers on that number line. If you can represent one number in the form p divided by q, then we know that there should have another numbers that we cannot write in the form p divided by q. If you can represent one number in the form p divided by q, then there should some other number that we cannot represent in the form p divided by q. That all numbers should exist on that number line. If you pick up all the numbers that can represent in the form p divided by q from that number line, that all numbers are called irrational numbers. That also infinitely many on a number line. So we cannot count numbers. That's infinitely many. There exists infinitely many rational numbers, irrational number, all things. It does not stop here. In your higher classes, you can study new types of numbers. Then here in this chapter we want to study two theorems. First one, if A is any natural number and P is a prime number such that P divides A square, then P divides A. A is any natural number and P is a prime number. If any prime number divides a perfect square, then that prime number should divide its square root also. If any prime number divides a perfect square, then that prime number divides a square root also. For example, we know that 3 divides 81, is it? We know that 3 divides 81. And what is the square root of 9? 81, that is 9. Square root of 81, that is 9. Then 3 should divide 9. If 3 divides 81, then 3 should divide 9. That this theorem says. Here 3 is a prime number. If a prime number divides a perfect square of a natural number, then that prime number should divide its square root. Okay. Then second theorem, if A and B are any two natural numbers and P divides a prime number such that P divides A into B, then P divides A or P divides B or P divides both. If a prime number divides product of two natural numbers, we can take 21 and 7 is a prime number. We know that 7 divides 21. Is it? 21 is the product of 7 into 3 and 7 divides 21. You will get 3. So 7 divides 21. Then we can say 7 divides either 7 or 3. We know that 7 does not divide 3. So 7 divide 7. So here it says, if a prime number divides product of two natural numbers, then either P divides A or P divides B or P divides both the natural numbers. Okay. Then our first question. Prove that square root of 5 is an irrational number. Prove that square root of 5 is an irrational number. Here we know that for solving mathematical problems, we can use different methods. Many methods you learn for solving mathematical problems. Here we are introducing one new type of method. One new type of method we are introducing here. That's the contradiction method. What is contradiction method? What do you mean by this contradiction method? Contradiction method means we are supposing just opposite of what we want to prove. Here we want to prove root 5 is an irrational number. What is its opposite case? Root 5 is a rational number. Opposite of irrational number is rational number. We are supposing its opposite case. Then if you go like that, you will get one contradiction because our assumption is wrong. Wrong thing we are supposing here, so you will get one contradiction. So we can prove our supposition is or our assumption is wrong. That method is contradiction method. Here we want to prove root 5 is an irrational number. Here we are supposing square root of 5 is a rational number. Then we can write square root of 5 is equal to P divided by Q. We know that rational numbers we can represent in the form P divided by Q. Q naught is equal to 0 and P and Q are two co-prime integers. P and Q are two integers we should not have any common factor other than 1. So root 5 we can write in the form p divided by q. Then you can square both sides. Then you will get square root of 5 whole square is 5. 5 is equal to p square divided by q square. Take cross product. Then you will get 5q square is equal to p square. We know that 5 divides this 5q square. We know that 5 divides this 5q square. We know that 5q square divided by 5 is equal to q square. So 5 divides 5q square. Then if you can apply any operation on one side of one equation, then that should applicable for the other side also. If you apply any operation on one side of an equation, then that should applicable for the other side also. So here 5 divides 5q square, then 5 should divide p square also. 5 should divide p square also. So 5 divides p square, and by theorem we know that 5 is a prime number. 5 divides square of one number, then 5 divides its square root. 5 divides p. If 5 divides p square, then by theorem 5 divides p. If 5 divides p, then we can write p in the form of product of 5 with some other integer. Then you can write p is equal to 5 into m. Because 5 divides p, we can write p in the form 5m. Product of any integer with 5, that only here. Then substitute this value p is equal to 5m on our first equation. Then you can write 5q square is equal to 5m whole square. 5q square is equal to 5m whole square. Simplify that and then you'll get 5q square is equal to 5 into 5, 25m square. We can cancel one 5 from both sides. Then you'll get q square is equal to 5m square. Here we can see 5 divides the right side of this equation, 5m square. 5 divides 5m square. So 5 should divide its left side also. 5 divides q square. So by using that same theorem we can say 5 divides q. So here we have 5 divides p. Here you will get 5 divides q. So we can say there is one common factor for p and q, that is 5. 5 is a common factor for p and q. That is one contradiction for our assumption. We assumed root 5 is equal to p divided by q, where p and q should not have any common factor. But here we got 5 is one common factor for p and q. So we can say our assumption is wrong. Hence root 5 is not a rational number, it is an irrational number. Same way we can prove 1 by root 11 is an irrational number. Suppose 1 by root 11 is a rational number, then we can write 1 by root 11 is equal to p divided by q, where p and q are integers, q naught is equal to 0 and have no common factors except 1. Then squaring both sides, you will get 1 by 11 is equal to p square divided by q square. Cross multiply, q square is equal to 11p square. That's our equation number 1. Okay. Then here we can see right side of this equation. That's one multiple of 11. Right side of this equation is one multiple of 11. 11 divides 11p square. So its left side also can divide by 11. 11 divides q square, and by our theorem we can say 11 divides q. Therefore we can write q in terms of 11 or product with 11. Q is equal to 11 into m. Then our first equation becomes, instead of q, we can substitute 11m. 11m whole square is equal to 11p square. Then this one is 121. M square is equal to 11p square. We can cancel 11 from both sides. Then you will get 11m square is equal to p square. Here we can see this left side divisible by 11. Therefore right side also divisible by 11. So 11 divides p square. Then by theorem 11 divides p. Thus we can say p and q have a common factor, that's 11. Therefore our assumption is wrong. Therefore 1 by root 11 is not a rational number, it is an irrational number. Then another type of question. Show that minus 3 plus 2 root 5 is an irrational number. Here also same method we are using. Consider minus 3 plus 2 root 5 is a rational number. Consider it as a rational number. Then we can write minus 3 plus 2 root 5 is equal to r. We are considering r as a rational number. Then we can transpose the terms. We can transpose minus 3 to the right side. Then you can write 2 root 5 is equal to r plus 3. We know that if r is a rational number, here we consider r as a rational number. If r is a rational number, then r plus 3 is a rational number. Then we can transpose this 2 also to the right side. Then this one will become root 5 is equal to r plus 3 divided by 2. If r is a rational number, then r plus 3 is a rational number. If r plus 3 is a rational number, then r plus 3 divided by 2 is a rational number. Therefore r plus 3 divided by 2 is a rational number. So right side of this equation is a rational number, that's clear. But we know that if right side of one equation is a rational number, then its left side should be that itself. But we know that square root of 5 is not a rational number. Here there is a contradiction. For this equation, right side is a rational number, but left side is not a rational number. For this question, we want to prove here once again root 5 is a rational number. That is our first question. We want to prove that here again. The root 5 is an irrational number. First we want to prove that one. After that we want to write its left side is not a rational number. Therefore contradiction. Therefore our assumption is wrong. Minus 3 plus 2 root 5 is an irrational number. Then some remarks. First one, sum of two irrational numbers may not be irrational number. We know that sum of two natural numbers should be a natural number. Difference of two natural numbers should be we can consider integer. Difference may be negative number, then that should be integer. Or if we can consider integer, sum of two integers should be a integer. Difference of two integers should be a integer. Like that properties we learned. For a natural number also we learned some properties. For natural numbers we learned some properties for integers, like that. Here there is some properties for irrational number. We have first one, sum of two irrational numbers may not be irrational. It may be rational or irrational. Then let a is equal to 7 minus root 3 and b is equal to 11 plus root 3. These two rational numbers. Then if you add these two rational numbers, what should be the answer? 7 minus root 3 plus 11 plus root 3. We can cancel minus root 3 and plus root 3. Then 7 plus 11, 18 is the answer. We know that 18 is a rational number. It is not an irrational number. It is a rational number. Then difference of two irrational numbers may not be irrational. You can take difference also. 7 plus root 3, 11 plus root 3. If you take the difference, then open the bracket, you can write 7 plus root 3 minus 11 minus root 3. We can cancel plus root 3 and minus root 3. Then 7 minus 11 minus 4 is the answer. That's a negative integer. That's an integer. So that's not an irrational number also. Then product of two irrational numbers may not be irrational. We can take one example. First irrational number 7 plus root 3. Second irrational number 7 minus root 3 is product. We can use the identity a plus b into a minus b, that is a square minus b square. Then you will get the answer 46. 46 is a rational number. That's not an irrational number. Then what about its quotient? You can try that one. Take two irrational numbers and find the quotient of that two irrational numbers. for example, a is equal to root 3, b is equal to 5 root 3. What's the quotient? A divided by b. We can cancel root 3, then you will get 1 divided by 5. So quotient also we can say is not necessary to be an irrational number. It may be rational number. So if you have a textbook, try remaining questions also. Okay, and study this whole topic well.